Brent.
Coach, what do you start with this defense? When you start to reset for this year, kind of what's your punch list? What are your priorities for this group?
Yeah, hey, that's a great question. It's always the same every year. You know, the fundamentals, you know, who we are, you know, as a defense, you know, the things that we take a lot of pride in, how we run to the ball, you know, the physicality in which we want to practice with, you know, and how smart we want to be, you know, from snap to whistle. So, you know, we're just really working on our core identity right now. And, you know, we got a lot of new faces out there. You know, you can't take anything for granted. So we're just starting from the bottom up. You know, everybody started from scratch. And we're just building it, you know, laying the foundation.
Adam?
We obviously saw Booth doing a little bit on offense. How has he handled doing both of those, and how much did it help him that he went through a full season of defense before attempting this?
Yeah, I think it's been fine. You know, who understands he's a defensive back for us. You know, the goal every year is to be the last man standing, you know, so we're trying to do anything we can to give everybody an opportunity to continue to grow. So his role on offense will be, you know, dictated from coach. And, you know, at this point, you know, he seems to be handling it, you know, really well.
Vince and Patrick?
What do you think about the group in the secondary? Obviously, you don't have big numbers, no Jamad for the spring. What do you think about that group?
Yeah, there's a lot of young faces out there right now. You know, for us, I think that the thing that's exciting is, you know, we feel like we won, but they look what we want them to look like. You know, we have a lot of length back there. You know, we got a lot of guys that can run. They're still learning how to play at this level, you know, but we're excited for them. You know, we think every year, you know, we continue to move the needle and build the type of secondary that, you know, they can stand the test of time. So, you know, obviously between Jamad and Ricky Gibson and, you know, guys like that, you know, we think they'll be great ambassadors and, you know, role models for these young guys.
Ryan?
A thin group that's maybe not 100% right now, but what do you see from that linebacker group right now?
Yeah, I think the first name for me, you know, T-Lander's been awesome. You know, just being a leader. You know, he played a lot of football for us last year, and you can see just his confidence that has grown. And you know, he's really working with the younger guys. I mean, it's a little bit by committee right now, but that's a good thing. You know, we think their snaps are very valuable that they're getting right now, and it'll only pay dividends for us in the future.
Coach, I guess part of the offseason process is self-scouting, quality control, whatever you want to call it. What does that process look like for you guys? Do you guys game through game? Do you focus more on the wins and losses, what you did well, what you didn't do well? And how do you sort of go about taking what you learned from that point to, as you talked about, building your identity as you get to the practice field during spring ball?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. You know, obviously you always try to figure out, you know, how you can play better, you know, in some of the games that, you know, you weren't quite as successful in. And then obviously some things you did well, you know, why did you do them well? You know, so we're trying to learn, we're trying to grow, you know, and that's what the cut-ups are for. You know, as we get used to our new personnel, you know, we're defining right now what it is that they do well, you know, what are some of their strengths, obviously their weaknesses, and how can we make them better within the framework of our defense. But all that information is really based on, you know, what we saw, you know, coming out of last season and how we can get better.
Rob, then Paige.
Coach, you lost a ton of production and some strong leadership in the defensive front. How are guys like Caleb Harry and David Hobbs kind of evolving as more opportunity presents itself?
Yeah, I think it's a work in progress, you know, but in a good way. You know, those guys obviously were really productive for us, and some guys that have played some football. But I think these young guys will be fine. You know, you mentioned Hobbs. Hobbs played a lot of football in the last couple of years, and, you know, we're super excited about his growth and his development. You know, Jackson Moy, Easton, you know, those guys have played some football. So, you know, they really worked during winter conditioning about leadership, working on their leadership skills. And, you know, I think we're going to see some dividends being paid as we get further and further, you know, during camp.
You mentioned Ricky Gibson. How important is it to have him in a room that might be depleted a little bit with that experience?
Yeah, it's awesome. You know, Ricky's done a really good job here over the last 2 years, and having him out there has been awesome. You know, awesome for him. You know, and obviously awesome for some of the young guys. So, you know, but we got, you know, Andre Tarantine, you know, who's back, who's played some football for us, and you know, Jacoby was a new comer last year that, you know, played a lot of football for us, and you know, we feel like we have some guys that have played, you know, to be able to blend in with some of these younger guys that hopefully when we're done with this spring ball, you know, we've taken another step in that back end.
Ryan, then Brent.
What's the plan for Caleb Beasley this spring? Will he move around a little bit? Is there anything about his skill set or build that sort of makes him a good fit for a versatile role like that?
Yeah, I think it starts with just, being a good athlete. Again, I think it speaks to, how we've tried to recruit. We want to recruit defensive backs, guys that have flexibility that, can bounce inside to outside or outside to inside. And Beasley fits that mold. He's a smart kid. He's a team first guy. So we're eager, just finding him a spot that he can continue to grow. So he's working at it. I don't know that we've solidified any spot exactly where he'll play, but I can say that for a lot of guys on the back end. We're just kind of working through it to figure out the best combination and make sure we got all the guys in the right spots.
Yeah, Coach, what made Coach Chop the right fit for your guys to create for your staff there? And then with an analyst, bringing in a guy like Allen, who's got multiple years of experience in the NFL and as a coordinator, how important have those roles grown into for you guys as coordinators to help have an extra set of eyes like that?
Yeah, I start with Coach Chop. Chop's been a valuable asset for us, since he's gotten here. I know he gets a lot of, accolades because of his recruiting, and rightfully so. But he does just as good a job, at developing and working with the front. So he's kind of been an unsung hero around here for a long time. So I'm super excited. He's finally getting his just due. As far as Allen goes, I've known Allen for a while. Never had obviously the luxury of working with him, but we're always trying to move the needle. Like I said earlier, nobody's happy except one team at the end of the year. So anything that we can do to help us become better players, better coaches, that's what we're striving to do. And bringing Allen in has really been awesome. Wealth of experience, as you alluded to. As he gets to know us, he's getting to know the system. But he's already helped us in so many ways. Just with some insight and seeing things from a different lens, it's already helping and paying dividends for us.
Patrick.
Coach, kind of two-part, you talked about some other guys on staff. You're obviously back as well with the contract extension. How much uncertainty was there with that situation? How glad are you to be back in Tennessee and continue to build on what you've done? The second part is Trey Poteet, freshman cornerback. What do you guys like about him in the recruiting process to go to Wisconsin to get him?
Yeah, I'll start with the second part. I think, with Trey Poteet, once again, he fits the mold that we're looking for. He's a coach's kid. So we knew he would have a great foundation in terms of learning and understanding what it looks like to be a collegiate defensive back. And he hasn't disappointed. He's a smart kid. He's a hard worker. No different than a lot of freshmen. There's obviously, boatloads of things that he'll continue to grow with. But at the end of the day, those are the type of guys that we want to recruit, guys that see it and, have a chance to be special, as they continue to get older. Being here, Tennessee is obviously a special place, special place for me and my wife. You guys know me, my faith is everything to me. And, so I feel extremely blessed to be here. Uncertainty, I don't know, I knew things would work out the way they needed to work out. So, I'm excited to work with this new group. I'm excited to work with, our staff and some of the additions we've had. So, it's been a blessing for me. And like I said, I'm super excited to be here.
Vince.
Obviously, you have ideas of what guys can do in the recruiting process, and just TBD on how they react to it. Early on in practices, through your experience, how much can you get true, accurate indicators on how good of a player can be with those early signs versus when the pads come on and when it really gets written?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know that you ever know, to the kid truly in the heat of the battle. It's our job to try to simulate that as best we can. You have stages, right? You do the fourth quarter, the old school mat drills, if you will, to try to put them in some mental anguish if you can, but at the end of the day, you got to go out and play football, right? So we're in the first stages of that. No pads are on. There's not, a lot of noise, crowd noise. The environment is pretty sterile. But yeah, they still got to pass that test. And then obviously you get to the scrimmages, right? How do they react during the scrimmages? When things are going well versus when things go bad. And then you finally get a chance to play in a place like Neyland, right? Now how do they respond? So I just think it's a staircase for every guy. Some guys go from the first step to the last step quicker than others. But I think history would tell you, if you stay the course and those guys are able to handle the first stage to the second stage, it's a good chance they'll be able to handle the third.
All right, thank you, Coach.
All right, appreciate you guys.